We are jumping in our time machine for this new podcast series as we review TNA exactly 15 years ago to the date, thanks to our friends at iMPACT. Watch along with us by getting iMPACT Plus. And don't forget to subscribe to make sure you don't miss an episode. We're sponsored by We Love Sport, the brand new app. Download to find out all the nearest pubs and bars showing all the latest sports. Check them out at welovesport.co. We're also brought to you by 1310 Apparel. Use the code TWM25 at checkout for 25% off your first order. Check them out at 1310apparel.bigtartel.com and follow them on Twitter, 1310 Apparel, as you can see some of the lovely merch that my co-host George is wearing at the moment. Speaking of George, how are you?
I'm very well. How are you?
Yeah, not too bad. All pretty buzzing that we get to go back in our time machine and watch the greatest show ever, TNA iMPACT. Of course, today is July the 8th, and we are watching the July the 8th edition of TNA iMPACT, kicked off by David Young versus Chris Sabin. Now, George, I don't really remember, I watched TNA at the time. I don't really remember David Young. Do you remember much of him?
No. I Googled his name and he was in TNA for 5 years from 2002 to 2007. But by the looks of it, he didn't do anything of note. He must have just been one of those people that was just there, like as an enhancement talent, but was just there.
Yeah, I mean, like Chris Sabin, that's definitely someone I think we all remember and all still do know now. Don West is of the same opinion of us because he gets on David Young's back. He starts joking, saying that David Young has only won one match in the past 3 years. Although that being said, both men do get some good offense. Some good offense by both men. Sabin dominates initially, but then Young takes over. And then the commentators bury him by saying they're surprised that he's even made it this far into the match and they can't believe he hasn't lost yet. Like, what is going on here?
Kurt Hawkins before Kurt Hawkins was a thing.
And then, of course, we have the Cradle Shock pin as Chris Sabin picks up the win. A good little match to get the show going. Post-match, though, Samoa Joe storms the ring, who we saw Samoa Joe debut at Slammiversary just a couple of weeks ago. And this is the start of his big, dominant, undefeated run. He chokes Sabin out, and this is setting up a match. The two will face off at No Surrender.
I think this match was made purposely just to get Samoa Joe into the mix with Sabin and over.
Oh, pretty much, yeah.
Really, yeah.
Watching all of these episodes of TNA back, I'm starting to realise that they're all just to put over every segment seems to end up with the commentators hyping No Surrender in one way or another.
Yeah. It's really good. Well, I mean, we get annoyed by it now with WWE going like every 30 seconds. The Extreme Rules, the horror shows in 2 weeks. But TNA did it in such a good, subtle way that it was like, oh yeah, I will. They're not going to jam it down your throat. They'll mention it so many times, but they'll be subtle about it.
Well, you know the reason how Don West ended up as the TNA commentator?
No, go on.
So he was, those TV shows where people sell stuff like
QVC? Yeah.
He was basically on one of them on some, I don't know, Tennessee TV show or something. Jeff Jarrett was flicking through and saw him and was like, who's this guy? We need him as our commentator. Apparently he could sell ice to Eskimos, so they would we need this guy. He's going to help sell all our pay-per-views. At all the live shows, apparently he was incredible as well, because at the end of the show, he'd get in the ring on the mic and start trying to flog all the merch and everything. And that apparently the merch sales when Don West was there were so much higher than when he wasn't.
I would love to see Michael Cole try and do that now. Or Corey Graves. Just try and hype up people, but buy t-shirts, please.
Wild West deal! Hello, folks. Don West here, and I'm back on the internet, baby. Here at WildWestDeals.com, I'm going to provide you with all your shopping needs. I'm talking sales up to 80% off. I'm not kidding. As high as 80% off. It's the place you want to go. We're going to have deal of the days. We're going to have special deals. Buy one, get one free. All kinds of crazy things at WildWestDeals.com. It's the only place you're going to want to shop. Why? Because I'm insane. And because I give you the best deals you can get anywhere. Why would you shop anywhere else? You don't have to. WildWestDeals.com, where I got a deal for you.
So anyway, we go backstage, and our good friend Terry Taylor is there with AJ Styles and Larry Zbyszko. AJ is pretty pissed at Sean Waltman. He says he cost him a match at Slammiversary, and he wants a match with him at No Surrender. Zbyszko says that Styles reminds him of a young Waltman, and he makes that match, but with the added caveat. After last week with a 2 stayed down and Jerry Lynn came and got involved, Jerry Lynn will be the guest referee. It's an interesting thing to say from Zbyszko as well. Does AJ remind you of a young X-Pac?
No. A young X-Pac for me is in, the late 90s, where he was a cocky bastard with DX. AJ Styles is definitely not that.
I don't quite know where that came from. We then have Terry Taylor again, this time with America's Most Wanted. Chris Harris shoots on, he doesn't shoot. That's just what I've got in my notes. And then James Storm says that they think they're the King Turds of Poo Poo Town. But say AMW are like 7-Eleven. They're open every day and twice on Sundays. And they're going to have to find an all-night shift to pray for forgiveness for what they're going to do to them at No Surrender. Like,
AMW are so good. James Storm is just so good.
It's like, it's funny because they're trying to be like the big bad guys, but you can't help but crack up at what they're saying.
No, you can't help hate that. You can't hate them because they're funny. It's like Kevin Owens now. He'll try and be a heel, but because he's so funny, people love him.
Yeah. We then go to the ring and we have a match, Mikey Batts against Zach Gowan. Now, like, Zach Gowan, one of the few people in the world to hold a win over Brock Lesnar. And I actually didn't know he was in TNA. As we said on the show last week, we both started watching TNA a little bit later than this. So, yeah, Zach Gowan in TNA, that was a nice surprise.
I thought he's got a win over Big Show as well, isn't he? Because of Brock Lesnar. That's how he got his contract, if I remember rightly. Yeah, I was no idea he was in TNA either. I know after he left WWE, he left because he was a dick. Basically, he wasn't very good backstage. He was very egotistical. He was felt like he was entitled because he'd got this opportunity, and a lot of other wrestlers like Angle and Hardy and those sorts of people didn't like him because he was getting all these opportunities and he led a dodgy life after wrestling. But I had no idea he took a stop on TNA at this point.
That's interesting you mentioned that. I didn't even know about that. I just kind of assumed that WWE brought him in, just for a couple of angles. I didn't ever realize like there was like a long-term plan for him. He was on American Ninja Warrior as well. He completed that course, I believe.
Yeah, he's a very talented man that's got one leg.
Yeah, for a guy with one leg, he is an incredible wrestler. Like, he probably wrestles better than like we could with 2 legs. But he misses a big moonsault. That's the same moonsault that put the Big Show away. And then, much like last week, we get the same again. Jeff Jarrett interrupts, forces the timekeeper to ring the bell, and gets on the mic, calls Gowan a hop along. Gowan retaliates, but Jarrett smashes a guitar over his head, as we saw pretty much on a weekly basis at this point. Now, if you thought Triple H in 2003 was bad, Jeff Jarrett in 2005 was something else.
Yeah, it's because he was the owner of the company. He was just being entitled, and he was just abusing his position. Love Jeff Jarrett, but 2005 Jeff Jarrett was insufferable. Absolutely insufferable.
Yeah, I mean, you can kind of see where he's coming from. I mean, it's his company. If he was going to place himself as a top star, like, you can't trust anyone else like you can trust yourself. Yeah. Obviously, he was like a big star in WCW, so he's probably like one of the biggest stars on the roster. From kind of like a business point of view, you can't really blame him. But it didn't come across. Well, I think a lot of fans really did hate it.
Yeah, there's nothing it don't like. down the throat a little bit.
The next match then we have Samoa Joe. This is primetime Elix Skipper. This
What
is
a
Shark
man!
Boy.
What a man! What two men? What three men? Oh my god!
Yeah, like what a. I don't know who booked this match. Just the three. These three don't go together at all. But oh well, I guess they're all in the X division. That's what they have in common. George, do you know the story of Shark Boy's lawsuit?
No, I do not.
So
it's obviously something to do with cold, isn't it?
No, like basically, Shark Boy, he wrestles under Shark Boy, obviously. A movie came out called Shark Boy, but Shark Boy was Shark Boy before the movie. So Shark Boy sued this movie for like basically ripping him off and won. So that's why he was on TNA for a couple of years and then kind of just disappeared because he just got like an insane amount of money that like he just didn't wrestle anymore.
That's hilarious.
We start with Joe and Skipper squaring off. Shark Boy tries to get involved, but they both push him out of the way. He then goes for top rope and takes both men out. So maybe shouldn't underestimate Shark Boy. Speaking of underestimating Shark Boy, Joe tries to superplex Skipper from the top rope, but Shark Boy sees the opportunity and powerbombs Joe off of the top rope.
Always love a triple tower of doom.
Yeah, especially when Shark Boy is the one inflicting all the damage. Huge double German from Joe, like German suplexing both men. Joe then drop kicks Skipper from the top rope, muscle busters Shark Boy for the win, and then chokes him out.
This is like what WWE used to do with Ryback, where they used to put him in like 2-on-1 handicap matches. He dominated two people. Yeah. But he dominated two people. But this is a better way of doing it because it's a triple threat. It's not a handicap. So it's like every man for themselves, and Joe is just going to dominate whoever comes his way. It's a very good booking.
Yeah, that's a good point actually. Like, because if you lose a handicap match, that basically says like, look how shit you are. It's like two of you can't even beat one person. Yeah, you're right. A triple threat match is probably an even better way of doing that. It's something I've never really thought about before. Next match, then we have. There seems to be like a lot of matches fitted into a relatively short show. This is the third or fourth match. This is the fourth match so far. We have P.T. Williams versus Amazing Red. Amazing Red, I used to go on LimeWire back in the day and try and download clips of him because I thought he was the coolest guy ever. him and AJ Styles from like early TNA, some of the stuff they were doing. We treated the X Division champion Christopher Daniels on commentary, and he basically spends the whole time trying to bury P.T. Williams, calling him a one-move wrestler, of course, referring to the Canadian Destroyer. We see Amazing Red do some amazing moves, a shooting star press to the outside of a ring. He goes for the infrared off the top rope, but misses. PT hits the Canadian Destroyer, but then, rather than go for the pin, he locks in the sharpshooter for the win, sending a message to Daniels that he is more than a one-move wrestler.
And he's Canadian.
Yeah. Of course, this is building up then to P.T. Williams versus Chris Daniels at No Surrender. I've got to say, like, we've watched these 2 episodes of Impact. I am now really looking forward to No Surrender. Like, these guys are doing a really good job of hyping it up.
They are. Like, it's a very good card as well. It's like for the time when it was like WWE's resurgence back up from the Attitude Era into the Ruthless Aggression era, they obviously had the most talent. But for other companies, like, you forget how good some of the other lower company wrestlers were, like TNA and Ring of Honor.
You know, speaking of people who you forget how good were, Alpha Male Monty Brown is backstage with Terry Taylor. Monty is, he cuts a promo on the 3LK. I'm not sure exactly what the story leading up to this is, but he says something about Conan and something about the Outlaw. Of course, we know him as Billy Gunn, who I think has just debuted. He keeps calling him the 2LK, which is the rap group. But I don't know if he's getting mixed up with that or whether he's just calling them the 2LK because he's taken one of them out or something. But he basically says they're going to get the pounce. So that was lovely stuff. We then have a very short match, Abyss, again with Father James Mitchell against Cassidy Riley. I don't know who Cassidy Riley is, Apparently he was in WWE's ECW. The match doesn't last very long though, because within about a minute, Abyss hits a huge Black Hole Slam for the win. So of course looking strong before his match with Raven at No Surrender. Raven then storms the ring and chokes Abyss out using the chain again. So they're really trying to hype up this whole chain gimmick.
It's like WWE now. They use... Sorry, is it a ladder match? All right, let me attack you with a ladder 20 times running up to the show.
It's a ladder match. Let's just start Raw with everyone sitting on top of a ladder. Main event then, we saw the build-up to this last week. We have a six-man tag as Team Canada, Bobby Roode, Eric Young, and A1 take on the team of the Naturals and Lance Hoyt. Again, Jimmy Hart is there with the Naturals, and Lance Hoyt and the Naturals pick up the win, so the baby faces are celebrating. Team Canada then do the beatdown afterwards. P.T. Williams arrives with a hockey stick, starts beating them up. And the show abruptly ends as Mike Tenay says, we've run out of time, we'll see you next week.
Typical TNA.
Yeah, and speaking of, I think we've run out of time on this podcast. So, yeah, we'll see you next week.